This is VOA News. Via remote, I'm Marissa Melton. U.S. President Joe Biden made televised remarks today saying he's convinced that Russian President Vladimir Putin has decided to further invade Ukraine. AP correspondent Mike Gracia reports.
President Joe Biden late Friday made his most pointed assessment of Russian President Vladimir Putin's intentions regarding Ukraine.
We have reason to believe the Russian forces are planning to and intend to attack Ukraine.
After delivering prepared remarks, the president briefly fielded questions from reporters who pressed Biden on his statement.
You are convinced that President Putin is going to invade Ukraine. Is that what you just said a few moments ago?
Yes, I did. Yes.
Biden said a diplomatic path is still available, but he added that Russia will face massive economic and diplomatic sanctions if it launches a further invasion of Ukraine. Mike Gracia, Washington.
UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres said Friday of Russian troops surrounding Ukraine that it is high time to seriously de-escalate. Guterres spoke to Western leaders gathered in Germany for the Munich Security Conference. Regarding a possible Russian invasion of Ukraine, he said he still does not believe it will happen, but if it did, he said, it would be catastrophic. Guterres has repeatedly called for de-escalation, diplomacy, and dialogue on the Ukraine situation. He has warned that the price of armed conflict and human suffering, destruction, and damage to global security is too high to even contemplate. The United States and some Western allies say Moscow has amassed more than 150,000 troops on Ukraine's borders. Russia dismisses claims it is planning an imminent invasion as Western hysteria. This is VOA News. Canadian police on Friday reportedly started arresting truckers in Ottawa who've been protesting Canada's vaccine mandates and other COVID-19 related restrictions for the past 3 weeks. With some dressed in tactical gear and carrying automatic weapons, police began a crackdown on Thursday night, reportedly arresting 2 of the movement's organizers around the capital's Parliament Hill area. Authorities also sealed off a large section of the city's center to prevent people from entering. The Canadian Broadcasting Corporation reported the arrests had taken place and said that police had set up several detention centers around the city. The police action also led to the country's House of Commons suspending its Friday session. Canada's Parliament building has been the focal point of the protests. 9 passengers were missing after a blaze engulfed a ferry sailing from Greece to Italy early Friday. Firefighters were battling to rescue people trapped on the ship. A total of 240 passengers and 51 crew members were on board the Italian-flagged Euroferry Olympia when the fire broke out. Rescue vessels took most of those rescued to the island of Corfu, where ambulances were waiting. Grimaldi Lines, the owner of the vessel, said earlier that tugboats were sailing to the area to help recover the ship. The cause of the blaze is still being investigated. A judge in the northern U.S. state of Minnesota on Friday sentenced former police officer Kimberly Potter to 2 years in the fatal shooting of black motorist Daunte Wright during a traffic stop. It was a lighter sentence than the just over 7 years in prison that prosecutors wanted. Potter said she mistook her handgun for her taser in firing on Wright, who resisted when officers pulled him over in a Minneapolis suburb last April. Potter was found guilty in December of first-degree and second-degree manslaughter. The shooting triggered multiple nights of protests in the town of Brooklyn's center. The demonstrations captured national attention at a time when many Americans were reckoning with racism and police violence. The United Nations said Friday it was alarmed by the worsening food crisis across Africa's Sahel region, with more than 10.5 million people facing crisis levels of hunger. The UN's World Food Program said the number of people on the brink of starvation had increased almost tenfold over the past 3 years. The WFP said that of the 10.5 million, some 1.1 million were deemed at the higher emergency stage of food insecurity across 5 affected countries in Africa's semi-arid sub-Saharan belt, including Burkina Faso, Chad, Mali, and Niger. Via remote, I'm Marissa Melton.